And ever since then, whenever it has looked as though house prices might be about to fall, or the housing industry had fallen into some kind of temporary slump, as it did, for example, after the introduction of the GST in 2000, or it looked like doing during the global financial crisis in 2008-9, governments, federal and state, start throwing ever more generous grants on ever more lenient eligibility criteria to people in order to encourage them to buy homes.
Well, what do you call it? It's a home builder's grant, home owner's grant. What do you call them?
Well, I call them, in the case of grants that go to people who buy existing homes, which many of them have done, particularly since first homeowner grants were extended to people who bought existing homes after the introduction of the GST, even though the GST didn't apply to existing homes, it only applied to new ones. I've called those second home vendors grants because that's where the money ends up. And where grants are restricted to people who buy new builds, then I tend to call them builders and land developers profit margin expansion grants because that's where the money ends up as well. And the thing is that these grants are supposed to encourage and increase home ownership. But when you look at census data, the home ownership rate peaked in Australia at 72.2% in 1966, which was the first census after Menzies introduced the first of these schemes, and it has been going down ever since. So that at the 2016 census, the last one for which we have results, the home ownership rate had fallen to 65.5%, which was the lowest it had been since the census of 1954. I would bet London to a brick, as they say, that the home ownership rate will have fallen even further when we get the results of the census that we've all just filled in a bit over a month ago. That'll be the middle of next year. But what's even more striking is that these grants are depicted by politicians and others as being particularly directed towards younger first home buyers. And when we look at the data